Next, we have Becky Kapp, the Senior Vice President of Business Development, BioBridge Global Advanced Therapies. Dr. Tara Washington, CEO of Kindred Hospital, San Antonio Medical Center. And then finally, we have Dr. Robert Garza, the President of Palo Alto College. So I'm going to kind of stand by the side and please have a seat. So EDS and MEDS are the key drivers here in economic development. And the flow of our panel will be, we're going to look at the impact, the challenge, and the opportunity in the sector, the immediate past, the present, and the future. So that's kind of what we're going to do. So let me start with a question to all the panelists. And so, you know, we are coming out of the before times, as some people call it. So I just want to know what do you think of the perspective you have coming out of the pandemic, and particularly as you see the huge growth and the influx of new employers in San Antonio and the growth of current employers. So what's your perspective on what has changed? So I'll start with President Fisher.
Sure, thank you, Sheikh. So the pace of evolution in how employers do their work, how employers use technology to do their work that was brought on by COVID, I think from a higher ed perspective, challenged our relevancy in some respects. The work that employers need and the technology that they need to use is something in the traditional higher ed sector, we aren't set up to meet that pace. So I think it really highlighted the need for agility, the need for us to collaborate more and build direct workforce based on the needs, not what we want to educate, but what we need to educate for our community. Becky.
Yeah, so BioBridge Global is an interesting organization. We're really about healthcare infrastructure. We're products and services that deliver to healthcare providers and to therapeutic developers. And on the therapeutic development side, we're in a rapidly growing emerging market, highly innovative. And so it's all about the agility and the collaboration, developing our capabilities and our workforce in collaboration with higher ed. And that really is a lot of what we are facing right now.
Okay.
Okay, so fact that we are very challenged with the fact that there is new employers, new hospitals, a lot of need for nursing and respiratory therapists, which is what we pride ourselves on. But there's a lot of demand, especially being in the medical center, right? So we can recruit them, but we have to figure out how to retain them. So we've had to be very creative on how we adjust our market rates with still being able to stay afloat. So that's really big. All our professionals need to be paid for what they are doing, and that has shown in the pandemic to be very needed. But how do we keep them, right? So it's really important right now to grow with our clinical capabilities. So we have to really recruit very skilled nurses, therapists, and things of that nature. And if they don't have it, then how are we providing the education to get them there? So that's been big for us. We've all put our heads together across the hospitals to try to figure out how we keep those employees here with us and not floating around. And that's all about the culture and what we provide in our hospitals.
President Garza.
So the first thing I was going to lead was with a joke that nothing's changed. That's not true. Everything's really changed. And first, I'd also like to begin just by thanking everyone for staying for round 3. So those of you who have stuck it out,
Thank
we truly appreciate it. But it's such an interesting time. And it's probably something that, in my 30 years in higher education and 8 years as a president and CEO, never thought I would experience. Everything is different, from the student and their expectations of what higher education is and what they're looking for, to the workforce needs of immediacy. So I need somebody not tomorrow or a year from now, I need them today, to the professions in themselves. I mean, you look at nurses who are, in some cases have gone on strike because they're overrun, because there's simply not enough of them. You look at educators, that some folks are devaluing teachers, or they're overrun because they've been navigating through and nobody wants to be a teacher anymore. And so how do you navigate through these ever-changing challenges with students and workforce and being nimble? And then you've got the economy that's going on right now. And then you've got wars that are going on right now. And then you have this thing called COVID that's still a thing. It's still here. And you're trying to navigate health and wellness. And then you have employees that want to work remote. And then they have life-work balance that are so important. And you all have to do this at the exact same time. There's just not one trend. It's like 10 trends going on at the same time. So when you talk about change and COVID and where are we at, we haven't seen what's to come. Everybody's talking about AI. That's just one track of many tracks. And so I'm interested to see what's coming on to what's going, but I'm also a little nervous about it, if I'm just being honest.
So let's stay in the present a little more. So I want to know, what excites each one of you right now? What's happening that excites you? So I'm going to go the other way. So starting again with Robert.
So I get excited every day going to work. I get to meet students that have overcome challenges and barriers and have climbed mountains to get to my institution. And so we've talked a lot about the South. Well, let me tell you about the South. Out of the 7 schools of the South, there's less than 50% of students that graduate from high school go to college. And at one school district, I won't name them, but it's in the 30s. It's like 32% for one high school, 35% for another, which means for out of every 10 students, only 3 go to college. That's not okay. That's not what our workforce is looking for. They're looking for skilled employees. They're looking for educated individuals. And this is kind of really the path. I'm excited about the work that we started several years ago, before COVID was a thing and before we're in this place. We had a vision 4 years ago. So we're starting a new nursing program in the fall. So I'll be asking for money after this. We're starting a dental hygiene program. We're starting a welding program, artificial intelligence and robotics, advanced manufacturing technology, cybersecurity, all of this in a brand new facility that's up and coming. So we had the vision of what was to come, and it's absolutely amazing. And I'm really excited because this is all being launched this fall. So fall 23 is going to be exciting times, not only for our institution and our community, but for our city of San Antonio, because we are the hot spot of what's to come. In addition to that, I got to throw this in, is Alamo Promise. Last year, if you don't know about Alamo Promise, you got to learn about Alamo Promise. Last year, we finally completed the milestone that any student in Bexar County that goes to a public high school can get up to 2 years of college at no cost to the student and their family. That's a really big deal, because people are talking about student loans right now. Guess what? They won't graduate with student loans. They'll come out with 0 debt. And then we have a promise to promise with UTSA. So you can go to UTSA for 2 more years and get a 4-year college education for $0. That's a big deal.
What excites you?
2 things. I think the first thing is the investment into the actual employee, because we've had to be creative. So we've seen a lot more push into helping these employees go back to school, tuition reimbursement, skills fairs, things of that nature. And we're seeing the employees be very engaged in that. because they want to grow and they want to stay in these hospitals. So that's very big for us. And I think the other thing is for us, the push for quality. For so long, we've seen the push on volume and how many patients can you see? And now, particularly in San Antonio, we've seen this wave of the incentives being more on what are your outcomes? What is your quality of care? What is your coordination of care across providers? That's very, very exciting because that only helps the most important thing, which is the patient. And that's what we put first in our organization. So.
There's so much. So first of all, I'm a native Texan. I spent 22 years on the East Coast and came back 14 years ago as part of an Army move. And what I'm seeing today in San Antonio is so exciting. And being at BioBridge Global, we're able to touch so much of it. We talked about real estate development. We were the anchor tenant for the Velocity Texas campus on the east side. As the population grows, we have a larger donor base for our blood bank, which next year celebrates 50 years of serving the region all the way down to, thank you, all the way down to the Rio Grande Valley. We serve 60 counties, over 100 hospitals. But we're also in this space that is highly innovative. We've built an advanced manufacturing organization in the biologic space. And so when I talk about serving two markets, we serve the healthcare providers, the hospitals and clinics that need blood and blood products. We also serve the advanced therapies, the cell and gene therapy market, where they need blood products, they need manufacturing, they need testing. And we're in this space that is, we've been talking about it as long as I've been here, and I'm sure well before that, I know well before that, about growing in the innovation in healthcare delivery, healthcare life science development. And I think this is a really incredible time because I'm just thinking about the people in this room that we have leveraged as BioBridge Global and we have helped and supported. It's a phenomenal time to be part of San Antonio.
Well said.
Joe. Actually, I'm excited about the opportunity that exists in our community. So everything that the prior panels talked about and our panelists here, everything coming to San Antonio, the foundation and infrastructure and business that's been laid here, the industries that are making this their home, aerospace. People don't talk about our aerospace community, but our aerospace community is growing here in San Antonio. So those opportunities is what I'm excited about. And challenge then from a higher ed perspective of creating those pathways. But I'm excited about what San Antonio is doing there too. San Antonio is starting those pathways now from middle school and high school. So instead of high school students leaving high school, not knowing what they want to do, walking in Robert's door or my door and saying, I don't know what I want to do. More and more of our students, 50% of our students are in the CTE programs, a little more than 50%. So they're already getting an idea of what they want to do and they've got a head start. So what excites me really we just experienced it last Saturday, our graduation. So as we watch those students, first gen students, all the way from bachelor's through master's degrees walk off the stage. And as we're announcing them, we're also announcing where they're working, what degree they got, what certification they got. So connecting the opportunity with the dream is what excites me right now.
Joe, I'm going to stay with you for one more minute. We had this conversation while we were having coffee earlier. Talk a little bit about the agility and the speed which Hallmark particularly can offer programs, unlike other large state universities, who I won't name.
Yep, I think I'm proud of our model of education. We're a nonprofit faith-based university, but we are not a liberal arts university. We are a workforce development university. So we work with the end in mind. So we're outcomes based. And we know that 85% of the college students that are headed off to university, they aren't going to become researchers or philosophers. Thank God we have those institutions. There's still a tremendous role for them to play, but the largest percentage of our population needs to get into a career so they can contribute to our community, contribute to society. So our model is built around that. And I see a shift in higher ed towards that across the board, right? Because we're acknowledging that while there's a role for liberal arts institutions, a key role for them, that the focus is really on workforce development education. And so Hallmark's model has been built on that from the beginning. We only train in areas that need to be trained in, as I mentioned earlier, not what we want to train. Got a lot of faculty that would like to train in a lot of other areas. But we train where our employers, who we consider our primary customer. So when I greet students coming into our programs at orientation, I explain to them that they're not our primary customer. They're not used to hearing that. But when I ask them to think it through and I explain that a primary customer is the customer that's always right, and I ask them who is our primary customer, then they're able to say that it's the industry, that it's the employer. So being focused like that helps the students. And then from a speed perspective, which is really critical in our model, you can get a bachelor's degree with Hallmark in 28 months from beginning to end. People ask what we leave out. We leave out summer break. We leave out spring break. Our students carry 18 hours a semester. They do that 3 semesters a year instead of 2. But it's critical right now that we don't take 4, 5, and 6 years to get our education, because technology is advancing so fast that what you learn as a freshman or sophomore is antiquated by the time you leave. And the final piece for Hallmark, and what I think is a model that I'm also seeing embraced across the board, is in addition to the academic credential, because let's be honest, an academic credential, that's needed more to move in your career these days, as opposed to sometimes get in the front door still. But if you're an employer and you're sitting across the table with someone with a bachelor's degree, it really only tells you often that they survived 120 hours somewhere. So all of our programs couple the academic credential with an industry license or certification of some type. So the registered nurse, an FAA license, Microsoft, Cisco, and I think that is the model of the future.
Impressive. So I'm going to stay with higher education a little bit longer. Robert, the competition is intense to recruit students because the value of college education is being questioned right now everywhere. So what are you doing at Palo Alto to recruit?
So we've been very fortunate. We actually have enrollment increases, not decreases. So we don't know what that is. And it's partly because of the folks that are at my institution. I have amazing faculty, staff, administrators that really care about our institution. In fact, our leader for Educate South, Priscilla Aguilar, is our former SGA president. So we have folks that graduate from Palo Alto College that stay at Palo Alto College because they want to get back into their community. But we do things different at our institution, not only in the programming piece, because we're meeting what students are looking for and workforce is looking for. Short-term programming is kind of the stackable credentials is a big thing. Hey, 18 months, 20 months, 24 months, how are we going to get you in and get you where you want to go, whether it's short-term certificates or long-term certificates. The other thing that we do is, as I'd mentioned, Alamo Promise. So that has been a big jump in FTIC, first time in college students coming in, because students are now realizing, well, wait a minute, it's not going to cost mom and dad some money, or I didn't think that we could afford it because now it's already covered. And we have great partners with the city of San Antonio and organizations such as yourselves that have contributed to that. So that has helped us in a big way. So programming, moving in that direction. But the key is too, when enrollment, a lot of people think it's new students coming in. What about the students that are already there? How do you keep them? Because they can then all of a sudden, hey, I want to go get a job that's going to pay me $20, $30 an hour. And now is the value of me making an opportunity cost worth it in the short term versus long-term gain. And so we have to have those conversations as well. We have a second to none national academic advising program that we get people all over the country to figure out what we do, because we have an advisor that meets with you from the very beginning all the way up until you graduate from college. We've started this Educate South model. So we've gone a little bit below the middle school. In fact, if there's hospitals out here, we want to partner with you, because we partner with hospitals because we want to talk to prenatal parents, right? And then future parents. And we want to celebrate the birth of their child and having conversations about their child going to college from day one. And then we go and I tell folks, if Chuck E. Cheese can remember my kids having one birthday party there, why can't colleges and universities have that same navigation piece all the way through through graduation? So we do have that cradle to college mentality. If you stop coming to my college, we're not only going to send you an email, we're not only going to call you, we're going to go to your home. So we're the only college or university in the country that I'm aware of that if you stop coming, we send somebody to your home. And we have some conversations about what's going on and how can we help support. And then if you graduate on time, at our last graduation, you could win a new car. So we have a student that actually at our graduation drives off with a brand new car at the end of graduation. And so we incentivize on-time graduation. So we do things a little bit different at Palo Alto. Our enrollments are looking pretty healthy, and we're projecting continued healthy growth in the next couple of years as well.
Remarkable, and clearly not a surprise if you're giving cars away, so. That's pretty cool. So I'm gonna pivot back to the healthcare and the entrepreneurship side of the house. So what's the next big thing, and how is San Antonio playing in the next big thing? So I'm gonna start with you, Tan.
Obviously telehealth is huge, huge. And we have seen that finally the buy-in for that during COVID, because they had to. There was such a pushback all across the nation. I was a CEO 5 years ago in New Jersey when COVID first started. And we're like, finally, you see that we have this need, and we're seeing it stay. And we're seeing the buy-in from the physicians to know that it is very, very helpful when you cannot find a specific specialty to have that specialty in-house, because they can really see that patient. And when you have someone there to be able to kind of carry out what they need, it really does help. We're seeing it for psych coverage, urology coverage, things of that nature. And it's been really, really helpful. And I'm excited to see what more we can do with that. You're seeing the coverage from that telehealth where you can actually put the stethoscope on the patient and the physician can hear what's going on. So you'd be surprised. I'm so excited to see where that continues to grow. So for us, that's what I'm seeing.
Becky?
Yeah, I would say on one level, cell and gene therapy is kind of the next big thing in healthcare delivery and therapeutics. Harnessing your body's own power and using that against disease. But in the external space, what are the influences on that? I would say big data and AI, not necessarily. I heard somebody referring to it earlier as a means to replacing workers, but this is more about informing development and making that a smarter process. Right now, roughly 90% of therapies that go into clinical trials don't get through. And so how can we make that a more efficient process and increase the therapeutic power of those options? That's where you get yet another tie into the educational programs, very targeted, focused on computer science and development and into the hospitals. It's really
Okay. Thank you, Becky. So with the agility that you have at Hallmark and the recruiting prowess that you have at Palo Alto, I think the workforce that San Antonio needs for the next big thing is being grown right here. So that's pretty impressive. Any final thoughts from any of our panelists?
For us, I know I'm interested to see what programs you have. I know we do have an affiliation with Hallmark University. We get your students all the time. They're wonderful. We like that. Any other universities that have that, we welcome students because we can grow them and help them grow their skills. So please reach out to me. We'd love to help them out.
I'd like to leave everybody with a final thought. I said eds and meds are key economic drivers. So you need to support your universities and your healthcare system. So please, that's the most important thing you can do for the growth of an economy and the people in a region. So
no more hospital closures.
Yeah, and you know what,
Please.
and that's really a big deal, particularly in the South. We lost Texas Vista Hospital in the
huge.
South, and it is a monumental thing within our community. And so thank you so much for saying that. Because we do need you all to invest. I'm just gonna do a shameless plug, I have to do it. So Palo Alto College table's right over there. And so we have deans and VPs and the whole 9 yards. So if you don't know us and you haven't partnered with us, you got to stop by that table over there just to get some information, see how we can connect. So just got to throw that out there. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.